If you're an entrepreneur or a professional salesperson, you have undoubtedly struggled at some point with procrastination. And if you're aware that you have struggled with procrastination, you've probably taken a look at some of the very popular productivity tools that are out there. For example, David Allen has a great one called Getting Things Done. And Stephen Covey, an oldie but a goodie, his 4-quadrant time management system works for a lot of people. And these are not always tools that work, especially for those of us who are more feminine people. The majority of women and some men who come from a more feminine, intuitive, sensitive place. When we come up against procrastination and challenges to our productivity, we need a different kind of solution. After 15 years of being a full-time entrepreneur and seeing how many of my clients, as well as myself, struggle, I've noticed that there comes a point when these traditional productivity systems just stop working. And after much inquiry, I have arrived at a deep knowing about what really stops us, and that is our emotional blockages. There are days, sometimes even weeks or months, when you feel sluggish, overwhelmed, totally devoid of the passion and enthusiasm for your great work that you're doing on this planet. And in that mental and emotional place, your productivity suffers, right? Your goals go unaccomplished. Your to-do list piles up. You have all kinds of great ideas, but you find yourself virtually incapable of taking any action that you've put forth for yourself. In other words, you have fallen prey to your resistance. Resistance is what you feel when your emotional, spiritual, and energetic blockages rear their ugly head. It's sometimes called procrastination. Some people experience it as writer's block, and many entrepreneurs and professional salespeople simply experience it as a generalized feeling of overwhelm. Whatever you call it, it is that feeling you get when your to-do list just makes you want to go and crawl under the covers and hide. And what do you do when that happens? How do you get unstuck and back to feeling enthusiastic? Get back to a place where you're moving forward with purpose and passion, and you're taking deliberate steps and seeing the fruits of your labor in the form of increased sales and more customers and clients and a restored sense of being everything that you are here to be. And as I was saying, most of the business wisdom that's out there, which for the most part has come from men or very masculine people, doesn't really address this problem of our resistance. It doesn't acknowledge or certainly try to solve the debilitating problem of our own emotional obstacles. At best, we get advice like, feel your fear and do it anyway, or do now what other people won't, and later you can do what other people can't. Right? The reason is that this advice is given is because men, or at least the masculine way of doing things and seeing things, doesn't really know what to do with emotions. Men's brains can compartmentalize far more than women's brains can. So they just put that yucky feeling that they don't understand and don't know what to do with over there in a box by itself. And that leaves them perfectly capable of getting back to being focused on their deliberate actions of accomplishing their tasks at hand. Stephen Pressfield has a book, The War of Art, which is a prime example of exactly this kind of advice. He says to overcome your resistance is basically just force your resistance to knuckle under and in the face of your superior power and will. He says sit for 4 hours a day and force yourself to absolutely positively not give in to your resistance. It's a very masculine approach, right? And it's great advice if it works for you. And certainly there are many people for whom it does work. But for those of us who are sensitive, intuitive, feminine, emotional, that approach of muscling through our resistance or any of the problems in our business or in our life just doesn't feel good because our brains can't compartmentalize that way. If we had a fight with someone that we care about in the morning, the feelings left over from that fight make us feel bad and unproductive the rest of the day, or even sometimes the rest of the week. And the only cure is to somehow resolve those feelings that got triggered by the fight, thus removing them from our system and letting them stop interfering with everything else that we're trying to accomplish. Now, apply that basic understanding to our business, and we can easily see that anytime we are feeling sluggish and unproductive, there must be an emotional reason, right? Even if we're emotionally feeling good, yet somehow we're just not moving forward on our goals and our objectives. Something is going on that's got a self-limiting emotion coursing through our system, clogging everything. Now, that emotion could be a big, intense, hardcore one, like sadness, overwhelm, depression. But they can also be less intense emotions like self-doubt or confusion, or even something that feels good, like a hyper excitement with lots of ideas and all kinds of things and visions and plans that you want to do. But whatever that self-limiting emotion is, whatever is going on that's stopping us from being productive, if you can figure out what caused it in the first place, you can pretty immediately clear it from your system and then return to being productive and enthusiastic and on purpose. The difficulty, of course, is that the cause of your self-limiting emotion is rarely something as easy to figure out as, I had a fight with my sister this morning, right? In fact, most of the time, the cause isn't any one incident. Rather, the cause of these self-limiting emotions is actually a thought pattern or a belief that's been formed over a long period of time, years and years of experiences. And something in the recent past might have triggered those thoughts and beliefs and brought them up to the surface in a way that they're totally standing in your way. But the cause, that root thing, is deeper and much farther reaching. When you're experiencing one of these deep, far-reaching causes, you're experiencing what I call a sales wound. I've identified 6 primary sales wounds, and they are the self-limiting beliefs that we all have about money, success, and salesmanship that stop us, that get in our way. And like all self-limiting emotions, sales wounds create resistance to accomplishing your goals and tackling your to-do list. Now, when a man's resistance or his sales wounds flares up and threatens to derail his productivity, or not just a man, any masculine person, it could be a woman, and not all men are masculine, right? But any masculine person, his approach, or this masculine person's approach, is to vanquish their resistance, to force it to submit to his will. None of this deep introspective discussion about feelings, because not only do masculine people not like to explore their feelings generally, but they aren't particularly good at it, right? Now, of course, some men are very emotionally intelligent, very emotionally aware, but they're the exception. Those of us who are more feminine in our orientation typically have very high emotional intelligence. We're extremely skillful at asking deep, probing questions and really listening to the answers and seeking solutions that benefit everyone. And not only are we good at doing this with other people, we also can do it with ourselves and with the parts of ourselves that are in conflict. We can get into dialogue with the part of us that wants to get out there and conquer the world, along with the part of us that wants to sit at home and hide under the covers while someone else fixes everything for us. And having listened to the needs of these two conflicting parts of ourselves, we can figure out a way to resolve the conflict and thus eliminate the resistance. And not only do we sensitive, intuitive, feminine types of people have the desire to do this kind of deep introspective work, we're good at it. We can ask ourselves, why am I feeling this way? What's stopping me? What do I need to change or steer clear of to get rid of these internal blockages? And then we can trust that this process of inquiry will actually be successful at clearing that resistance so that we can get back to being our high-octane selves. All that said, this process isn't easy. Our resistance is still a beast, and it can be very difficult to see it and work through it when we're up to our noses in it, right? By definition, when our resistance is large and in charge, we're not connected to the greatness inside of ourselves. We feel small, weak, vulnerable, helpless, anxious, self-doubting. Not at all like the capable, accomplished, powerful leaders that we show up as on our best days. When we're in our resistance, we need help. So essentially, that's what I offer. Tools that help you to notice when your fast-moving, goal-oriented, visionary self is getting tripped up by your resistance, your self-limiting beliefs, your sales wounds. Both when it comes to your sales and marketing, putting your message out there and getting your great work into the world, as well as your to-do list as a whole. Now, of course, my private mentoring clients get this kind of help in spades. But even when you're not a private client, you can get a tremendous amount of help from this digital online program that I offer, which is called Don't Get Stuck Again. Everything you need to know about getting stuff done, but have been too busy to learn. Now, the program starts by introducing you to a number of the great productivity tools that I mentioned at the very beginning of this video. These are tools like David Allen's Getting Things Done and Stephen Pressfield's 4-Quadrant Time Management System, as well as a number of others. But I present these classic tools and systems through a rather unique lens, and that is that I recognize that these tools stop working at precisely the moment that our emotions, our intuition, and yes, even our spiritual and karmic path feels out of alignment with our to-do list. And no matter what you try and do to shove practical goal setting and productivity plans down your throat, you encounter an obstinacy from inside of yourself, and which is the sheer power of your resistance. That part of you that says, nope, I am not going to do that. So the big value of this program, Don't Get Stuck Again, is that it not only gives you a powerful, rock-solid plan for cranking through your most important goals and objectives when you're feeling good and on purpose, just getting through that to-do list, bam, 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 in a structured, organized way. And also, the same program addresses what to do when that passion vanishes and your resistance flares up and starts running the show. When you follow the steps that I have carefully outlined for you in this program, you will soon be growing your business, reaching the people who you want to reach, living your life, and serving the people in it with purpose, excitement, and passion, the kind that is a reflection of who you really are. If that all sounds good to you, awesome. I am super excited for you to get started. Just go ahead and click on the Add to Cart button on the program Don't Get Stuck Again. Now, I do offer a couple of other tools other than this online program. I also offer a Sales Wounds Deep Dive, which is a live, interactive, one-on-one healing session. And then, of course, I offer long-term coaching engagements, starting with a month and going all the way up to 6 months coaching engagements. And you can read about those also on the website. So with that, I invite you to watch the rest of the videos, check out the rest of what I offer, and decide for yourself how I can best serve you in healing your sales wounds.